Hi everybody, Matt and Tom back with you. Hope you're okay. Well, hard to believe that it is just a week before Christmas. And look at the weather, absolutely splendid. Not quite the weather I'd have hoped for today. I wanted fog, mist and snow because as our final pre-Christmas video, we are bringing you a ghost story for Christmas. Okay, so we are heading to a place today called Scout Hall, and Scout Hall is in the Shibden Valley. And to get there, we've headed up almost as if we're going to Queensbury. We're now heading up this very steep track. Scout Hall was, I think, built around the 14th century originally, but the version we're going to see was from the 1600s. And it's an incredible building, which, yeah, it was ruined for most of the last century, I think. And it's only in the last 10 years somebody bought it and they've started doing it up. So when we get there, we're not going to be able to get too close to it because some of it's private. But the house itself is absolutely extraordinary. And one of the scariest looking houses we'll ever show you. It also has a very interesting name. But again, I'll tell you that very soon. And also, what our ghost story is. So the original Scout Hall was built in the 14th century, but in 1681, this version of Scout Hall was built by John Mitchell. He was a horse racer, a hunter, a gambler, and a drunk. And he lived an eccentric and hedonistic lifestyle, organising wild parties within the walls, often then disappearing for days, sleeping on the hillsides. Loved by some, but loathed by others, he was also a violent man, and had even stabbed 2 or 3 people in drunken rages at the pub, particularly if he was losing whilst gambling. Okay, so just through the trees we are going to come to Scout Hall. There's a big white van outside it and possibly somebody sat in the van, so I'm not sure. It may just be a quick film and go past. But what we do know, built in 1861 by John Mitchell. But who was John Mitchell?
16.
I always get it mixed up. 1681. And I get my centuries right as well.
By John Mitchell,
yes,
who was a silk merchant, but he was a bounder and a gambler and a drunk, and he signed over the house to his wife just before death to make sure that he didn't gamble it away.
Yep.
However, he invented a flying machine back in the 1600s, 1697 to be precise, because that was the year he died. And whether it was a balloon or whether it was an aeroplane of some sort, it took off from Scout Hall, and didn't go very far because he died in there.
Perhaps. So the suggestion that he was drunk and fell off his horse and hit his head. But the more famous story is that he crashed.
The Reverend who was writing at the time around here, who didn't really like him, he said that he shortened his days. And perhaps if it was about aviation, he might have gone into more things about how God is the only one that can make you fly. Perhaps.
I think some wild parties took place here as well.
It's very wild.
Now you see what we mean about it being a fairly scary building. So this is over 350 years old, and although it's called Scout Hall, it's also known as the Calendar House. And why is it called the Calendar House?
Because it has 365 panes of glass, 52 rooms, and 12 bays.
Or maybe originally had 12 bays, yeah.
Or maybe doors.
Yeah. It is a spectacular building.
It is beautiful.
But as we can tell, this side is now lived in. So we can't get too close,
Over the
unfortunately.
door, John Mitchell, he was a big hunter, and over the door is a thing of him fox hunting. If you can see, there's a fox and
Yeah.
the dogs, and there he is.
That is
It was crenellated at one time and had some battlements.
Wow.
It went.
Yeah. But yeah, what a building. But we'll tell you the ghost story away from here, I think. So on the right hand side we see John Mitchell with his gun chasing after foxes and deer and other animals. Yeah, fabulous building. Oh, his dogs are chasing it, yeah, of course. Yeah, chasing the fox. Brilliant. Wow. Well, they're certainly living in an extraordinary building. So there we go. Scout Hall. And apparently it's said that there have been figures seen moving within the walls and unexplained noises. So we're leaving Scout Hall behind, but what stories do we know from inside the hall?
In the 80s there was a ghostly figure that appeared 4 times to one woman over 2 separate days, but also appeared to several other people. White robed, masked figure, and also the chimneys. Local builders saw smoke coming from the chimneys. So who knows?
Yeah. Wow.
And at one point, Mr. Cook, who had it in the 70s, he was going to allow people to do it up and live there rent free.
Wow. But that didn't happen.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah. So I think it probably sold about 10 years ago. I'm not sure how much for.
That bit that's done up, was done up in 1987.
Ah, right,
It's a sort of
okay.
holiday cottage, but the rest
Right.
of it was certainly by the 90s.
Yeah.
Really full.
Yeah. However, the hooded figures within the walls are not the only ghosts in this area. So let's head back to Mr. Mitchell, who built this particular hall and was, by his own accounts, a scoundrel, and was even known to have stabbed 2 or 3 people. And as Tom mentioned, he created some kind of flying machine because his dream was to soar like an eagle over the Shibden Valley, which is where we are now. And so he created this machine. We're not sure at this point whether it was, like Tom said, a balloon or something else. And the story goes that he put it to the test, that he jumped off a hill and crashed into the rocks below. And the ghost story is that there have been many sightings in the skies of a flying machine going across the valley. So this machine has been spotted flying across the valley over the last 300 years, and it is then followed by a loud crash and clanking noise, almost as if the ship, if you like, has crashed into the ground, almost like a recreation of potentially Mr. Mitchell jumping off the hill with his flying machine. Now, it's possible that happened. There are suggestions, you know, because he was an alcoholic, a drunkard and everything else, he just fell off his horse and hit his head. There's also a suggestion that the hill he leapt off was actually Beacon Hill, and if he leapt off there, yes, he would not have survived. But yeah, that was his dream, to fly, and just for the one occasion he kind of did. But yeah, we're not sure about what has been seen in the sky. But let's not forget, this is Halifax. It's also a UFO hotspot.
And there were lots of aeronauts at the time, and I once played John Blanchard, who was the first person to cross the English Channel in a hot air balloon in a skiffle opera,
Oh, wow.
Scopera, as I
Wow.
called it.
Such a man of talents.
But a lot of them did die in unfortunate ways. In fact,
Indeed.
he fell out. I remember having to fall out of this balloon, and I ended up in it anyway. Yes, never mind. That's another story.
And what's our final story from the hall?
So, in 1867, James Archer, he was a 17-year-old boy, out with two other lads, and they were shooting birds. And he got his gun jammed, and he tried to ram it more, and it ended up exploding, and he was killed by the shrapnel.
Wow.
When he was 17.
In the house?
In the woods here.
In the woods here. Wow. Which we think there's a quarry over here, but it's
There's certainly
private.
a
We
coal
can't.
mine.
Yeah. It certainly looks interesting. Okay, we're both dead now. We've walked up this hill. But yeah, Shibden Valley behind us. If you spot anything flying through the skies, do let us know. But just a little short ghost story for Christmas for you. And that is it from the dark side of the moor. This side of Christmas, we may well put the tractor run on, hopefully, our yearly tradition, but we won't be on it. We'll just be filming what's happening. So, from Tom and I and Danielle, we wish you a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. If you don't celebrate Christmas, or if you're somewhere else in the world entirely, just have a lovely time. Enjoy whatever is happening in your area. And we will see you just before the new year. And Danielle and I are going to a rather extraordinary location for our New Year's Eve video. So we will see you then. Have a fantastic time. All the best. Take care. Bye for now.